Jason Williams, we are live.
What's good?
Not a whole lot, man. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect anything less from you. I'm surprised you didn't ride your bike here to Maryland.
That's a little bit out of my zone. Yeah, just a little bit.
I bet you would do it though.
I mean, with the right conditions, tailwind from the south, wife in the support vehicle with plenty of drinks and food. Yeah, I would absolutely do it.
And how long do you think it would take you to get to Maryland from Alabama on your bike?
Uh, it would probably end up being a week. It's
Really?
about 800 miles.
Okay.
So you'd have to break that up into 150-mile days. So it'd probably take about 6 or 7 days. I like to sleep, man. I've got friends that are endurance athletes that do these crazy like 36-hour rides, and they may sleep like 30-minute naps. I can't. I need my sleep, man. I need my 7 hours.
So you said you need your 7 hours?
Yeah, man. I got to get my 7 hours.
That's funny. We're going to get into that later too, as well. The reason why I'm asking you about biking, because everybody that's joined us, it's my good friend Jason Williams. I'll let him introduce himself in just a little bit. But as you can see behind him over his right shoulder is his banner for the Aspire movement. And there's bikes on there. And Jason is an avid cyclist. And that's one thing that I admire, but I'm not even trying to compete at all with him on that biking thing. Not at all. So Jason, we'll go ahead and get started because I know you have a busy schedule and everything. So we'll talk for about 20, 30 minutes or so. And if you could just tell us, sir, who you are, what you do, and then we can get going into the reason why we're here today.
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, man, I just want to thank you personally, Shawn. I mean, we're going on 25 years of friendship, brotherhood, and you've just been a constant advocate. When things kind of changed in my life and I made a 180 on the path that I was headed and began getting involved specifically in the lives of at-risk youth, opportunity youth, but youth that are finding themselves in some difficult and challenging circumstances. You've always been just a constant supporter, both by way of, contributing your financial resources, but also being willing to give time, energy. You've been a great advocate and a bridge builder and a connector. So just grateful for you, man. And growing up and doing manhood together has been fun, having kids and talking to each other about parenting. It's just been a great journey. So truly grateful for you. Those of you that don't know, Shawn and I were college roommates at George Mason, mostly on our road trips. And I won't go into all the details, but we got in a little bit of trouble from time to time. Let's just leave it there.
Yeah, I didn't get any trouble. You might have gotten into some trouble. I ain't getting no trouble.
You got me in trouble.
Yeah, it was my fault. Yeah. No, we had some good times. It's funny that you mentioned that because, obviously I knew I was going to talk to you today, and I was thinking about like what we were going to talk about, and like what rabbit hole we might crawl down, so to speak. And I was thinking about that, like college basketball, man. It was a lot of fun.
It was, man. I wouldn't trade those days for the world, man.
What they call us, the Williams brothers, right?
Williams brothers. That's right. That's right. But so, yeah, Jason Williams, I'm 43 years old. And in 2011, I founded what's called the Aspire movement. And basically the idea, the impetus behind it is that typically youth that are living in under-resourced communities don't have access to solid mentors and networks and opportunities. And so how can we bring people that do have some of those resources to bear on the lives of these kids and kind of point them in another direction? We start with fourth graders, so 9-year-olds, and we interview them and we ask them what they want to do when they grow up. And you all can probably imagine the answers we get usually from our young men. It's NBA, NFL, or entertainer. And so we want to show them that there's a whole lot of occupations. There's things that they can get involved in and really stretch their thinking and give them a larger worldview that this country is bigger than the 4-block radius that they live in. And sometimes people wonder why kids don't value education or don't care about it. Well, a lot of times they don't feel safe, number one, in their own community, but number two, they just don't see a viable option for it leading to something in the future. And so not only encouraging and pushing young people, but providing opportunities for them to see various companies and how they act, showing them pathways to get to college, trade school, whatever it may be. So that's the crux of what we do. We're just trying to develop the next generation of leaders.
Right. That's awesome. So tell us how you got started. I have 3 questions that I wrote down that I'm going to ask you, but take us back to number 1, why you started and how it got started.
Yeah. So, growing up in the DMV, I was heavily influenced. My parents had a real strained relationship. My mom ended up getting a divorce. And as a young man, I searched for my identity in success. I felt like, man, if I just become somebody successful, and it didn't matter what that pathway was to success. It could have been a legal activity, which it was. I was arrested in 1996 and charged with felony drug trafficking. But I tried to find my identity way of basketball. And if I played good enough, if I made enough money, if enough people liked me, then I would feel like I was somebody, like I've achieved, what I wanted to in life. And as I just kind of walked through those pathways, I just began to see that it's a never-ending cycle. Every time you think that if you achieve this, it's going to bring satisfaction and joy in your heart, you achieve it and it lets you down. And so I just had a myriad of idols that I determined that if I could get that, man, that would make me feel good. Ultimately, it left me empty. And then ended up in Birmingham, Alabama, where I met my wife. We've been married 17 years at Birmingham Southern College. And for me, I just realized that the thing that I was chasing after, by way of achievement and by way of worldly success. And I met with the God of the universe, who said the reason you have no satisfaction and joy is because you're disconnected from me. And so I surrendered my life to Christ, and that really kind of flipped the switch for me. I never liked the term Christian. I even rejected that just because what I've seen, what I saw and experienced growing up was like, man, I don't want to ever be those people, man. They hate other people. They're hypocrites. They talk about this, but then they do that. Within church and stuff, I saw racism and bigotry, and I was like, I never want to be affiliated with that. And so it was a real transformation for me. And I still kind of live with a little bit of that edge. Like I really believe in authenticity and transparency. And probably the greatest gift that I've been given is that I've been forgiven for all of the wrong things that I've done. And by the way, I'm going to need to repent and ask for forgiveness before the day's over, because I'm not the perfect version of myself yet. I'm still in process. So that's kind of, then it was funny, like, as soon as I got saved, I started going into prisons, doing open air preaching ministry in the various prisons here in Alabama. I began working with homeless population. I began working with at-risk youth. And as the years kind of went on, the common theme that I heard from the majority of the people that I worked with was that, they were growing up fatherless. And the statistics tell you, like, if you're growing up without a dad, you're 4 times more likely to end up in poverty. You're more likely to run away, drop out of high school. It doesn't mean everyone. Obviously, it's a little bit hard learning when there's not that male figure, pointing, telling you, like, I'm proud of you, son, like, good job. And so, on one end, we've got this group of young people in our city that are in need of advocates. But then also I spent a lot of time working in churches, and I felt like there's a lot of people who go to church every Sunday and they're culturally affiliated, with Christianity, but they're not giving their life away to anything. And it's like, you can have all these blessings and you can have resources and you can have a network, but if you're not using it to invest in the next generation, invest in people that may be under-resourced or disenfranchised, like, what are you really leaving as a legacy? So for me, the question was, look, Shawn, you and I are going to die one day. Like, it's guaranteed. Like
100%.
Death is coming. Death is coming for every single person that's watching this, listening to this, every single human being that's ever lived. And so the question is, we don't know when it's going to happen, but I want to be busy leaving a legacy until it does happen. And that's the only real thing that I have to leave, is like, how did I impact others with the benefits that I received in this life. So that's why we started it. I had formed a lot of friendships with principals, superintendents, administrators, teachers, and they all said the same thing. Like, kids just need advocates in their life. They need somebody to support them, encourage them, but also to challenge them, to discipline them, to, create incentives for them. And so we started in 2011 with 13 mentors. And today in 2020, we have 260 mentor student matches. And we graduated our first group of seniors.
Yeah.
Kids that started with us as 9-year-olds are now in college. We put one in the workforce. We've got 2 in trade school. One of them learning how to do HVAC, another one looking to do plumbing. The one who's doing plumbing wants to eventually start his own business. And so we've seen the tangible success of what happens when, somebody comes in, not to fix the kid, but to simply do life with the kid and to open up opportunities, and then encourage and challenge those young people. So it's been exciting to watch a full cycle of kids, come through our program, graduate. And the ultimate goal for us is that those kids eventually become the mentors. They will then go back and mentor a 9-year-old when they get situated in life.
Right. Every time I come down there, I've been coming down to Alabama, how many years? Like, how long you been there?
Oh man, it's been 20 years.
Yeah, I've been coming down there for 20 years. Every time before I come, I always ask you, man, can we go see one of the, see some of your students, or, can I go on a ride along or something like that? Yeah. Because it's really meaningful to see what you do. Because, like, honestly, Jason, my mom's actually on here too as well, listening to this and watching it, I should say. And I'm one of those kids that you talked about. I grew up without a father in the household. My mom was a single mother and raised me. Like, what does that look like? A kid like myself, I'm 9 years old. And I'm coming into your program. Like, what does it look like for Shawns of the world that come through? Thankfully, I'm not a part of that statistic.
Yeah.
Almost was a chance that I could have gone down that path, right? But I'm not, and I wasn't a part of that drastic, statistic that you talked about earlier. But what does it look like for a 9-year-old Shawn that's coming through there?
Well, first of all, kudos to Mama Williams, man, because she did a great job. And what it looks like is really different for every young person. But the idea is that when we connect our students to a mentor, the mentor spends time with that child in his own neighborhood, in his own environment, comes to school and has lunch with them, but also then brings that student into the mentor's environment, brings them to work with them, takes them to the movies, they go out to eat, they spend time at each other's house. And then they do new things together. So something that the mentor's never done that may be a little overwhelming for them. Like we had, one of our mentor student matches went kayaking, and like both of them were like scared of the water and things like that. So the idea for us, we're not like a curriculum-based program where like, you're teaching this kid something every week. It's more along the lines of like, look, y'all hook up and do life together. And so the things that, I've mentored 5 boys during this journey. So the things that I do with my own daughter.
Shout out to Willie.
Yeah, I bring my boys along. And so like, Jaheim, for example, like it was a lot of just hanging out and eating ice cream and, picking up some wings and watching football games together and just doing things like that. But it's also helping them with homework. you know, especially it's been interesting with COVID is just the lack of resources of having internet, having the tools that they need to succeed, helping kids make sure that they're prepared and have everything that they need along the journey. But that's the general idea. It's like I treat my boys like I treat my own kids, from the standpoint of I'm not their father. I'm not trying to supersede what mom's doing, or if it's an aunt, grandmother, grandfather, or somebody who's raising the child. I'm just there as a support system for them to kind of echo some of the encouragement that they're providing as well. So we know what our role is to be a friend, an advocate, an encourager. But you know, sometimes it ends up being more than that. And you know, what I've learned through this journey is, man, these you care about these kids like you care about your own kids, and your desire for them to succeed is what you desire for your own kids. And then it breaks your heart when you see sometimes the circumstances that they're up against and the challenges that they face. So so that's really, in a nutshell, what it looks like, man. We want the kids to be the best version of themselves, not fit into our mold, you know, or culturally be absorbed in, you know, the way that we view all of these other issues. It's more along the lines of just bringing out, you know, the best version of each kid.
Got it. And then, so you mentioned, you know, NBA, NFL, entertainer, maybe on the block, you know, like those types of dreams, you know. And so I wore this shirt today in your honor. Everyone knows that I love t-shirts, but this is actually one of my favorite t-shirts that I love to wear. And then the bigger thing behind it is social responsibility. To me is important, right?
Amen.
Reaching down, giving back, you know, helping lift someone up to show that there's an opportunity for them to contribute positively to society. However, I know the help of businesses with organizations like yourself, you rely on them heavily.
Oh,
So like businesses, for instance, how do we get involved with organizations like yours? And the meaning behind this storyteller shirt, you know, you can tell everybody about it. Like, basically, the owner of this particular company is on your board, right? I think, is he the chairman of the board?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And so this particular shirt came from that particular organization. So really, I'm interested to see I guess two things. How do the businesses interact, right? Because you said you wanted to show them something outside of what their, you know, quote unquote pipe dreams might be, right? And then on the student part of it, but then also, or I should say mentee, but on the mentor side, how can businesses get involved too as well?
Yeah, so we have been truly blessed by both small and large businesses here in the state of Alabama. And that comes by way of financial contributions. Sometimes it's an organization that's large that has like a foundation or a giving fund. It's being able to advocate, to put you in the right position, to know who to talk to apply for a grant, to get funding. So businesses have done everything financially, from sponsoring our events to just giving us money for operational budget. I mean, Influencer, which is Jim Caval's business, and the storyteller shirt you're wearing, he just determined, he said, listen, God's given me the ability to be an entrepreneur and create wealth. And that's not just to create money for myself or to create jobs for people, but it is to impact my city as a whole. So I'm going to give 1% of my revenue to the Aspire every year. And each quarter, he cuts us a check, 1% of their revenue. So that's one way that businesses, you know, can support us. Another way, which has been huge, is now we've got kids that are, you know, 10th, 11th, 12th grade. We've started doing summer internships and exposing these young men and women to tangible jobs that they can work in the summer. And so, you know, one example is one of our business partnerships is Express Oil and Tire Engineers. And so a 16-year-old can go and work a summer job and get paid, and then also just get mentored from not only from how to handle customers and how to have those social interactions, but even like nuts and bolts of doing oil changes or changing tires, or going to corporate and seeing the bigger picture of how this business operates. What does a franchise look like? What is franchising anyway? And so businesses can provide those unique job experiences for our kids. And those have been really two major ways. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't, include this. I'm currently sitting in a 250 square foot office. I have access to 2 conference rooms. I have access to a full kitchen. And I don't pay a dime because another one of my board members said, you know what? I don't want you guys having to pay for space. We're going to give you space within our office and you guys just whatever you need. So it's just been really a really neat experience to kind of see how businesses, once they believe in what you do and they understand what you do, they start to get creative about how they can assist and help you. So I'm sure there's more ideas out there that I haven't even thought about, ways that people can partner with us, but certainly we are who we are because of some amazing business leaders who've been our champions.
That's amazing, Jason. So, as you know, like I'm not gonna take much more of your time, but as you know, I'm doing this, and I started to do this at the beginning of the pandemic because I'm sitting and thinking, like, I have this great network that we built over the years, specifically on LinkedIn, and I have some amazing friends that are doing some great things that people need to know and hear about. So, just every week, bring the network to the network, and so one of the 3 pillars that we talk about all the time are relationships, building relationships before you need them. You and I go back 25 years, we said.
That's right.
And then a lot of these business relationships, like you mentioned, you've built those over time just from like, you're an avid cycler. And then, so I think you met, Jim through like the cycling, and workout and training and stuff. And that's, kind of come through fruition over the years. So I like to hammer home for anybody that's listening to this, like the relationship piece is very important, just to continue to build relationships, because you never know where they're going to go. And sometimes the relationships that we build will be able to help some of the kids like that are in Jason's program or any program, because obviously we're not in Alabama where I sit, but there are other programs around the country that do things similar to this. And the next generation, like you mentioned, the leaders is very important. The last thing or the next thing we talk about is DNA, Jason. That's why I ask you why. Like, why do you do what you do? Who would you let down if you didn't succeed? In your case, if you didn't succeed, you'd be letting down these kids that have been with you for years and years, and then the future kids that are coming through your program. And then even like, how great giving is, how good it feels to be able to give. So then you're taking away the opportunity for people that want to be a part of it to even want to give or to be able to give. And then lastly, the plan. You told us the plan. Like in your world, you have it set up where your kids have an opportunity to kind of figure out life. You do life together. They see what it's like to be in a household. They see what it's like to go off to work, and being in even a corporate environment, or even having a trade if it's not the direction that they're going to be going corporately. And so those 3 things are what I always like to project on this call or live stream every week. So I really appreciate what you do, man. I really do. Your mission, whether you're in Alabama, Idaho, California, wherever you are, I'm gonna always support that because I believe in what you do. Because, like, honestly, I was one of those kids, and without the tribe around me, supporting my mom and my family and such, who knows where that could have led for me too as well. So just keep doing what you're doing, man, and we really appreciate that. We do. So, a couple things, and I'm gonna let you go. You can stay on the line once we wrap it up. But how can we connect with you or to the Aspire movement?
Yeah, so obviously you can go to our website, aspiremovement.org. There's a contact page on there where you can leave us your information. We would love to email, Zoom call, talk to you on the phone, just in more detail and depth on what we're doing. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook at Aspire Movement. And then you can follow me on LinkedIn, Jason Williams. Good luck finding Jason Williams on LinkedIn, though. There may be a million of us. But obviously, I'm one of Shawn's connections, so that's probably an easy way to find me there. You'll probably tag me in this post. But yeah, I would love to. I love hearing people's story. Everybody has a story. And even if it's not the Aspire movement, it's mentoring. If there's other ways that we can help you because that's one of our core philosophies is mutually transforming relationships. I feel like every relationship I'm in, there is no relationship where I'm the only one receiving or I'm the only one giving. Everything is always reciprocated, and you never know who you're bumping into. And sometimes things seem like random and chance, but I've learned to treat every human being with the dignity and respect that they are owed, because you never know. I mean, we had a young 18-year-old who wanted to be a part of our program, and we could have treated him like, man, you too young, you don't really understand. And 7 years later, he owns his own business, and he's a major contributor to the movement. So you treat everyone with the dignity and respect, especially in an environment that I see that is toxic. We're in a culture that cancels you if you say the wrong thing. We're in a culture that dismisses you if you're not believing this particular item exactly the way I believe it. And that's sad, because that shows that none of us are willing to grow and learn, and it's showing that we're all like self-righteous and we've all arrived. And so those are things that are just dear to my heart, man. I think you should be able to have relationships and friendships with people who you disagree with. That's where the magic happens, when you can learn to be stretched and challenged in areas, and say, you know what, I got a lot of growing to do, man. Will you forgive me, and can we continue this journey together? Because guess what, I'm not there yet. So I know that was a tangent, man, but I wanted to share that, with the population as a whole.
No, it's a good tangent, and we needed to hear it. Last thing. So I don't know if I told you this beforehand. I probably didn't. But dead or alive, Jason, should have been an icebreaker, but I always end with it.
What's that?
Dead or alive. If you could have a meeting with someone, coffee, breakfast, lunch, dinner, ride your bike with them, whatever it might be, who would that be? You only get one question that you can ask.
Oof. Man, nobody's gonna know who this is.
But that's perfect. That's fine.
That's okay. You can go look him up. But his name was Tom Skinner. He passed away in the 90s of leukemia, but he was a young man who he said he stabbed around maybe 25 people before he was 16 years old, led gangs in Harlem, and then completely turned his life around and began to impact people all over the globe. And so I would love to just sit down with him and pick his brain. There's no way I could ask one question. It would probably have to be like 100 questions.
Well, what's the first question you would ask him though? What's your lead question? You only get one. Yeah. Even if it's an obvious one, what do you think? Where would you go with the conversation?
It would just be why. It would be why. Why did you choose the platform that you chose to kind of live out your calling?
Amazing. That's good. I appreciate it. That's it, man. I love to hear that, because it runs the gamut. Like, people are, I don't think we've had the same person only once. I think Oprah, two weeks in a row, someone said Oprah Winfrey. But we've had someone different every single week. And so I don't know who Tom Skinner is, but I'm gonna look Tom Skinner up, because I'm interested to find out more about that too as well. Because it's always great to root for the underdog.
Yeah.
And it gives you hope when you see people can change.
That's right.
And be effective in the world. So Jason, I really appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up. So as everybody knows, if there's anything, man, that we can ever do to help you in any way, I'm here to do that. You know how to connect with me as well. If there's a connection inside our LinkedIn network that we can connect you with, we're happy to do so. Obviously, we still do mortgages, so rates are historically low. We can help with that.
Man, that's not that refi, man. It's time.
That's not what this is all about. I just want to continue to add value to the people around me, because my clients, need to hear this stuff. They don't always need to hear about the 30-year fixed rates and stuff. But like I said, they are historically low, so we can help with that. But I'll let you go for today. Everybody just remain safe. Try to stay as healthy as you possibly can. And until next week, thanks again, Jason. I appreciate you, sir.